Welcome to a new way of thinking. My name is Mrs. Vernon, and this is Mrs. Trudgeon. We'll be your guides along the way. Now, I know some of you might be a little apprehensive about wanting to try out something new. But before you write it off, let's take a look at how it works and why it's actually going to help you out in the long run. Each chapter, Ms. Trudgeon and I will be giving you a formative self-assessment form. On this form, you will see a list of all the lessons that will be taught, and you also will see a grid that will be used to help record how you're doing and progressing with the learning. Now, in this grid, you'll see each of the lessons are listed at the top, and along the side, you see A, B, C, D, and E. A is going to be your warm-up or exit ticket. B is your classwork. That includes notes, Pear Decks, Kahoots, any in-class learning activities that we do. C is your daily assignment. D and E are scrimmages and review worksheets. We'll talk about what those are in a minute. Let's start by focusing, though, on these first three components. Those three components are what allow you to learn, process, and understand the material that we're asking you to learn. We're going to outline the big I can statements, those big ideas you need to know. And each day you're going to score yourself with a star, plus, check, minus, or M for missing. Now, how do you score yourself? Well, that's actually quite easy once you get used to it. We have a self-assessment rubric that describes each of the scores. So if you are giving yourself a star, that means you are doing everything we're asking and more. You're going above and beyond. You're helping your peers. You're being a very active learner. If you're at that check mark, you are right on par. You are doing everything we're asking. You're learning. You might make some mistakes here, and that's okay. A check mark is totally fine. You're doing what you need to do. And M means you were absent, you missed it. Now, when you're absent and missing stuff, you do need to go back and make up those things that you missed. Especially those warm-ups, it's very important to do that. Okay? Now, classwork again has its own description of how to get each of these different scores. Now, let's jump back over to our formative self-assessment form. In this form, each day you're going to record and give yourself a score for the lesson that was taught. At the end, in the activity summary, you're going to say, okay, how did I do on my warm-ups and exit tickets? You're going to take a look at the scores you gave yourself, see how you progressed, and give yourself an overwhelming score there. Okay? You're going to do this for B and C. D and E are scored slightly different because they're based on how well you did and if you did your job. For example, a scrimmage. What is a scrimmage? A scrimmage is actually an online, quick little assessment to see how you're doing. It's like the practice test before you take the test. Or, as it's named, it's the practice before you go into that real game situation. Now, if you do all of the parts of that expectations with that scrimmage, you're going to get your star here. Part of that is actually going on, checking your email, and seeing which ones you got right, which ones you got wrong, and going back and reviewing the ones you didn't get. E is the review worksheet. That depends on how you do your review. Are you needing to reference our answer keys a lot? If you are, then you're probably going to be a little bit lower. You're going to be at that check mark. It's okay to reference our answer keys, but you don't want that to be the primary thing you do. Okay? At the bottom, you'll see a score out of 10. This is your formative score. Your formative score is always out of 10, and it is the only score that actually will go in the grade book. We will not be scoring your homework individually. That's up to you to check and make sure that daily assignment's getting completed, that daily assignment's being checked. Okay? Now, your formative score is going to be based on your activity summary results. So if you're having some trouble with some of the material, you didn't do some of it, you have some missing stuff, hey, maybe you're going to be at a 6 out of 10. Now, this formative score does go in the grade book. It will be 20% of your grade. Below it, I have highlighted in blue here, this is your assessment score. So when you take your test, how did you do on the material from 1.1? 1.2a, 1.2b, etc. Now this score is 80% of your grade, but we are breaking it down by concept and by those learning objectives. In addition to filling out this grid, you will also get a chance to have a reflection grid. Now in this reflection grid, we have all of our I can statements. These are the big ideas you needed to get from each of the lessons we taught. These are also included in your notes, so we'll review those over and over with you. Now, before you take your test, you're going to fill in the I can statements, or the top lines highlighted in yellow for each of the learning objectives, or the I can statements. You're going to say, hey, I can always do this, I can do this, but make calculation errors, or I cannot do this. So the yellow is the, okay, take a break, let's see where we're at. After you're done taking the test, you've gotten your results back, you're going to use those results to fill in the green highlighted line, which is the post-reflection. Now, on the test, could I do both of these things? On the test, could I do the work from section 1.2a? We've included a little area over here so you can jot down those test problems that fit into each category. We'll also have those labeled on the test. After you've done your reflections, now the reflections, it seems like a lot right now, but you're going to get really good at doing this. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to have to write a little reflection statement on how you felt like you did in that chapter, where you could improve, and now for the good part. In this reflection statement that you write for us, you get to include a plan on how you're going to remediate or review to master the things you didn't get. That plan could include, I'm going to go back, do the homework from this section, and do the test problems from that section. That's totally a great option. Let's look at some student examples from some well-known characters we have. We have Ron Weasley here. Ron Weasley is a hard-working student, but sometimes he forgets to do things like his homework, his daily assignments. Sometimes he forgets to take notes or is too tired to do the warm-up. So if we take a look, we can see Ron has given him a check and a plus in his 1.1 day of work. He did a little bit more, or he did his adequate work. He did a little bit more on his classwork and notes, but then he just did the bare expectation with the daily assignment. You can see he's filled in all of these. Now, if we look at line A here, we see that he has a good majority of them are check marks, although he did have 2 days that were minuses. His summary is actually going to be a check. Overall, he did pretty well with his warm-up. If we look at the next one, we see that, yeah, he had a minus, but he had a star in here and a couple pluses. So we're going to say overall, Ron got a plus there. And same thing for C. Now, when he went to doing his scrimmage and his review worksheet, he was not quite up to par. He was actually performing below. So overall, Ron's formative learning, the stuff that he's doing to prepare for his test, he's at about a 6 out of 10. Okay. Once Ron took his test, he got an 18 out of 30, and Ron's saying, what? I don't like this. Well, of course, he's not happy with his score. But as we look at some of the material, we see, oh my goodness, Section 1.2b, he knew less than half of the material. Now, we also see that he did not do his daily assignment there. That's not a good sign. We also see that in these areas where he didn't do his daily assignment, his score was also at that 50% or below. Hey, Ron, I think you need to do your homework. All right, so Ron's feeling a little bit bummed out with his score. As he did his reflections, you see his blue X's are where he thought he was. But then when he went to actually do the test, he realized, oh, I can't actually do the material from 1.2b and 1.3 and even 1.4. That's not really good. So Ron went ahead and he wrote up his summary. He said, I feel I did well at the beginning of the chapter, but I didn't really understand the things at the end. Part of the problem was that I was really busy with my Quidditch practice and I don't always feel like doing my homework. I do want to redo parts of the test. My plan, I'm going to do all the homework that I didn't complete and didn't understand. I'm going to come in and talk with you and get help when I don't get it. I want to redo the homework quiz and the review, then I want to come in and retest sections 1.2b, 1.3, and 1.4 on an alternate form. I want to have this all done by October 9th. This is a great plan. Ron wants to earn back those points. Now, if he comes in on the 9th and he's done all of this prep work, relearning what he didn't do, and he gets those points and he gets them right when he does his reassessment, I'm going to give him back those points he lost from this section, and this section. Anything that he sets up in his plan to redo, I'm going to give him back those points. Now, a couple of things about Ron's plan. He was very direct. He explained why they were good, what he needed to do to make up the work and learn those essential concepts that we want him to learn. Let's take a look at Hermione. Hermione, she's a little bit better of a student. You know, she's doing her work. She's not going above and beyond, though. She must be busy with that time turner these days. So she's doing her work. Every now and then she does slip, but overall she's doing her work. Now, when it came to reviewing, she was an all-star. She went a little bit above and beyond, got that scrimmage done, did the review sheet. She's given herself a formative score of 9 out of 10. Now, this is her score. You're giving yourself your formative score, but it's really important to be honest. As teachers, Ms. Trudgeon and I, we can adjust these if we feel like we need to. Looking at her test, we see, hey, she did quite well. She did have a little bit of trouble, though, with section 1.4. Although when she did her initial reflection, she said she could do everything, she did recognize that there were 2 sections that, hey, when she took her test, she actually was not doing very well with it. In Hermione's reflection, we see that she says she needed some time to adjust to the expectations of the class. She was distracted by all the books that were accessible to her, and she started to do her homework more often and found that the warm-ups became easier to complete. She also said that she stopped using her time turner, so hopefully her grades will also go up. Anyway, her plan was she did okay on the assessment, but she wanted to go back and review the graphs from section 1.4, and she decided she wanted to create a mini lesson to share with me. Hey, that sounds great, Hermione. Let's set that up. She wants to do it on September 20th. I'll check my calendar and put it on. So, as you can see, there are a lot of ways you can show that you've actually learned the material. But sometimes you might find that you need to go back and review or relearn some of the material that you didn't quite get the first time. Again, the cool part about this is I'm giving you that option. You get to go back and make up and create that understanding for me and for yourself, and I'm going to reflect that in your grade. So in Hermione's case, she's going to bring that grade up on that test to a 90%. That's awesome, Hermione. Keep up the great work. If you have any questions, come see Ms. Trudgeon or I, and we'd be happy to talk through any of those questions with you. Thanks for watching.